If you haven't watched the previous video, I recommend you to go watch it. Now in the previous video, we are told that the dream world is the future from 10,000 years from now. Lu Sheng is now training harder than ever and is determined to change humanity's destruction. Now back at home eating breakfast, his mother asks why he doesn't go to school. He tells her his teacher allows him to self-study at home. Lu Sheng is now training a lot more and his sister notices Lu Sheng's changes such as his personality and more determination. While training, his teacher calls him that he has gotten the scholarship reward, and his teacher asks him why he hasn't come to school. Lu Sheng tells him that he can't waste any more time and that if anything comes up, he should just call him. Not wasting any more time, Lu Sheng goes right back to cultivating, wanting to reach the top of humanity and to change their future. Back in the dream world, he asks Ellie about all the notes related to martial art and cultivation methods. Having too many results found, he asked Ellie to filter them to where a rank 1 artist could practice with only the best of the best could be found. 3 results were found, each one of them the legacies of rank 11 powerhouses. These techniques are being incorporated with the Project Fireseed, meaning the powerhouses predicted the fate of their world knowing that they couldn't change their destruction of humanity. They could only preserve their teaching in the hope they could keep humanity going. Lu Sheng delved into the practice of the martial arts techniques he had discovered, starting with the stellar body forging technique and the natural breathing method. Despite being introductory chapters, the depth and power of these techniques were awe-inspiring. Lu Sheng struggled to grasp their intricacies but eventually made progress, though it came with intense pain and numbness. The stellar body forging technique transformed his body's density and strength to unimaginable levels, while the natural breathing method accelerated his martial arts progress and promoted harmony with nature. The combination of these techniques left Lu Sheng with an unmatched feeling of pleasure and improvement. After mastering the physical aspects, he turned his attention to the crystal ideas technique, which focused on purifying the mind and strengthening the will. This exercise involved visualizing a crystal-clear human form in the mind, gradually removing impurities with each breath. While it presented a mystical concept, Lu Sheng recognized the importance of spiritual will in martial arts. Despite its potential, the crystal ideas technique proved challenging to practice. Lu Sheng struggled to create the crystal human form in his mind, but he understood the importance of cultivating his mental strength and was determined to make progress in the future. Waking back up in his room, he is exhausted and stinks from removing the impurities from his body. Going to take a shower, he plans on refining elixirs once he has some money. The elixir recipes from the future would not only boost his abilities but change the pharmaceutical trajectory of the entire world. Back at school, Lu Sheng retrieves the scholarship money from his teacher, only having to attend school once a week. His teacher feels that Lu Sheng is more dense and clouded with mystery. Now that he has some money, he decides to use the medical recipes he obtained to boost his strength. Even though it was a simple medicinal soup, he would need professional equipment. Even the slightest mistake would ruin the effect. Knowing he couldn't afford the pharmacy lab equipment, he goes out trying to rent one out. Having bought all the ingredients, he goes around asking if he could rent a lab out. Being rejected 7 times, he was about to give up. Seeing that there was a pharmacy in a shady part of the town, he goes in. The clerk cuts off Lu Sheng and outright ignores him. Pushing his hand down on the clerk's phone, he asks if there is a pharmaceutical lab. Lu Sheng asked if he would like to make a deal to charge him 500 per hour to use the lab. Agreeing, the clerk let Lu Sheng into the lab. Inside, Lu Sheng prepares the ingredients. After extracting the medical properties and synthesizing, he successfully makes his first supplements. Wanting to know how effective it is, he drinks it, not making him feel anything. Suddenly hit with pain and numbness he never felt before, he lies on the ground. The effect of the supplement gives Lu Sheng all the blood chi he has been lacking and even more. Hearing knocking at the door, the clerk hurriedly tells Lu Sheng to leave by the back door because his boss is back. His boss, Missy, tests some of the tonics she made, knowing they weren't good enough. With the rapid development of martial arts, the pharmaceutical industry is changing every day. The reason that her family has declined so much was because they kept adhering to old traditions. Knowing that her family will go bankrupt soon, she'll have to collaborate with some alchemical master to raise her family or not. Now back at the pharmacy store where Lu Sheng has already left. Walking to the mixing lab, she finds traces of the lab being used. Angry, she asks the clerk to explain. Not admitting and not knowing how to explain, she fires him. Now cleaning the equipment and disinfecting them. She finds that the person was using a different method for tonic. Seeing a broken tube on the floor, she picks it up to examine it. The smell and appearance were different from all the tonics she had seen. She took a drop to examine the effect. Chasing after the clerk she just fired, she shook him down, asking who had used the alchemical lab. The clerk has Lu Sheng's phone number, has his phone taken from him. The tonics that Lu Sheng's refined were 10 times stronger than what was on the market for $100,000. Calling Lu Sheng's, who was training back at home, was enjoyed by the speed of cultivation and increase of vitality. Hearing a phone call, he picks it up. Missy asks for Lu Sheng to collaborate, which he agrees to set to meet in 1 week times. Missy asks the clerk to find Lu Sheng as soon as possible. Figuring Missy was mistaken, he tells her that Lu Sheng looked to be just a high school student. She was stunned to find out he was just a student, wondering who he could possibly be. Back in the dream world, fighting and defeating zombies, Lu Sheng understands that they aren't monsters to be farmed for experience but fallen humans who fought for humanity. Beating zombies wasn't hard, as they could only fight based on muscle memory and didn't have any intelligence, or if they did, he would have lost. By using the technique together, he can use the power that is 10, or even 100 times his strength. Use of the technique would tire him out. He names the technique Fixed Star Outburst. Back at the martial dojo hall, Lu Sheng asked to rent out a testing room. The clerk teased Lu Sheng about coming there more often than a usual person would. Because of how fast Lu Sheng's strength has been growing, he goes there often to test his strength. Seeing that his vitality score had already exceeded that of the standard of a level 2 martial artist, it would be weird if he didn't get so strong with the martial arts he had been training and tonics he had been taking. Testing his combat power, he punches the machine using the technique he learned that can multiply his strength to an incredible degree. His combat score doubles, and satisfied, Lu Sheng leaves. Ni Shuang, the daughter of the director of the martial dojo, comes in after Lu Sheng leaves. The little junior she brings with her talks badly about Lu Sheng. The junior has taken supplements since he was young, has cultivated various martial arts, and was arrogant. Ni Shuang bonked him on the head and told him to not get arrogant. The junior, curious about Lu Sheng's score, asked to see his results. Looking at his result, they are shocked. The junior, who was still shocked, asked if the machine was broken, only to be told they had been serviced yesterday, meaning the results were real. Ni Shuang asks the clerk to find his information and is determined to find him. Lu Sheng, taking a taxi, goes to the Martial Arts Association. As he is opening the door, a man screams, as his combat power should have been higher. The people around comment that the machines of the Martial Arts Association are much more accurate. Lu Sheng is excited to get a real grasp of his true abilities. He goes to the main desk asking the register. In the testing room with tons of people, Lu Sheng can only wait. Their people conversation is about a young girl, who has looks and abilities. Lu Sheng, seeing that there are mainly older folk than them. A big man walks through the door into the testing room with a big physique and skips his way up the line. The people complain about him, but the staff says he is allowed to because he is strong. Lu Sheng understands that strength is the ultimate goal of martial artists, and those who have it gain everything. The big man tests his vitality and shocks the crowd behind him. With a big punch, the big man passed the rank 3 exam. Those in the crowd were pushed back, only leaving the girl and Lu Sheng standing. Lu Sheng asks if those are the standards to being a rank 3 martial artist. The girl thinks that Lu Sheng is being arrogant. Walking up, Lu Sheng asks if he could go next, testing his vitality. Everyone is shocked by his score and by how young he is. Even the big man was surprised. Lu Sheng was ready to test his combat power. He, using all his technique and power, sends shockwaves into the building. Shocked, the examiner tells him that he can't even evaluate him and will report this to the head of the association. As the examiner runs off, the big guy walks towards Lu Sheng. The big guy raises his hand out. Surprisingly, it was for a handshake. Lu Sheng shook the man's hand. The big man was ecstatic. Everyone started to crowd around Lu Sheng. Thinking fast, Lu Sheng ran out of the building. Outside the building, his sister and 2 of their friend waited for Sister Yang, the one who was able to stand after the big guy punch. Seeing her brother come out of the building, she calls out to him. His sister asked what he was doing at the Martial Arts Association. Evading the question, he asked what his sister was doing here. After some small talk, Lu Sheng heads home. Sister Yang, who had been in the testing room with Lu Sheng, walked out of the building. The 3 girls asked if she passed the assessment or not. She tells them that there has been an accident and that she'll have to wait until the afternoon. Wonder what sort of accident would happen in the Martial Arts Association. They ask her what had happened. She tells them all the things Lu Sheng has done and that even her talent was a joke. The 3 girls wonder who that person is and ask Sister Yang. She tells them the guy's name was Lu Sheng. Lu King was shocked to hear her brother's name. On the way home, Lu Sheng saw men in black, people from the martial arts dojo. He went looking for someone. Not thinking that it was his problem, he goes home. Back in the dream world, Lu Sheng asks Ellie for his information again. This time it shows Lu Sheng's impressive life history, now knowing that the future can be changed. He knew there was hope. He knows that it is far from enough and meaningless in the whole scheme of things. Even being a grandmaster is far from enough to change his world destiny. He'll need the strength to go above and on. Lu Sheng, more determined, decides to keep on the path to keep getting stronger and never falter.